So it was announced last night, Eddie Anderson, here we go to Manchester City by Fabrizio Romano. So no real surprise considering that most of the media over the last couple of months have pretty much been saying that City making offers, they were the team at the table, Manchester United were an interested observer. So from a Man United perspective, it's more frustration and disappointment. In terms of how it's been reported, it's kind of interesting, I suppose, we're given the fee that terms of Fabrizio, he's saying that 116 deal, that's the money that's guaranteed. It is going to be pushing up a bit more. It's going to be costing overall about 130 million with all add-ons included. We don't know 100% like what these add-ons are for, but I guess we'll find that information quite soon. The interesting thing about this is that if it's a Man United deal, it would be 130 big headline and the add-ons would be included as part of the deal. But it seems that the media, for some reason, play it down a little bit. So, anyway, there's a few things I want to say about this one. One is fair play to Man City. In terms of the market, who's available, Elliot Anderson's probably the best player that we've been looking at as a club as well. He was apparently Man United's top target, but again, it's the same story that Semenyo was the top target in January. So this is more frustration at Manchester United and their inability to get these deals done. Whether it's because the cost is too much, Manchester United, maybe they're adhering to a non-practical wage structure, which means that we're almost like guaranteeing we can't sign some of the top players, and we will have to look at that seriously as a club. If Manchester United think they can pay less money to top players and get them to come, that is pretty unrealistic and a bit of a strange tactic, if I'm honest. But in terms of this as well, what does this deal do for the transfer market? £130 million, and we should probably use that figure when we're quoting this transfer deal because that's going to be how much it's going to end up costing. But I think to just not include the add-ons would be a bit silly because that's going to be at least 40 million of add-ons. So 130 million. Forest have got the transfer fee they wanted, so fair play to Nottingham Forest. They said they wanted 125 million. What they've done here is maybe they've got slightly more than that, but they're going to have to wait a little bit. So there's a couple of interesting things. One is going to be, what does this do to the other targets? All the targets that were expected to be, say, £60 million are maybe pushing up towards 80, maybe even more. So we're looking at maybe Matheus Fernandes. Maybe there's a knock-on effect that Alex Scott costs more. João Gomez apparently has agreed terms with Atletico Madrid. Is he going to be another potential option for someone to hijack? Because Premier League clubs looking to spend money are going to have to go maybe outside the Premier League if they want to get anything resembling any sort of value in this current transfer market. And it doesn't mean that Man United are effectively going to be priced out of a lot of the players we thought we could sign this summer. So maybe we're going to be looking at a few options outside the Premier League. And are we going to see potentially as well other clubs looking at trying to raid more academies to get younger players? Are we going to see more clubs going outside of Europe to try and get better value? And what are Nottingham Forest going to do with all this money as well? That there's going to be a lot of eyes on Forest in terms of what their targets are going to be. And there's a few people, myself included, saying that if Nottingham Forest, like they're probably taking a bold move now, accepting this deal before getting the players in to replace Anderson, unless they've got some deals lined up, because everybody's going to know now that Nottingham Forest have got a huge amount of money. Now, one of the players they were rumoured to be looking at signing is a player that Man United have been interested in or linked to for quite a while in Hayden Hackney. Is this going to be another story where potentially Nottingham Forest see Hackney as a Elliot Anderson replacement? No, I'm not going to say by any stretch of the imagination that Hayden Hackney is close to Elliot Anderson, but there is a few people thinking that you get a player that's maybe one of the best players in the Championship, the same as Wharton was when he was at Blackburn, and you could potentially give him 1 or 2 seasons in the Premier League, which is the stage where Anderson is at his career. Now, Anderson, we're talking about £130 million here, and maybe 35 million 2 years ago. So we're looking at a massive raise in his price. We're looking at how much Wharton cost, how much he's going to cost now. The price that Matheus Fernandes cost a year ago is like going to be maybe double this year. So if Hayden Hackney is available, 35 million, should Manchester United be looking at trying to get this sort of deal done? Is this going to be one of those players that, again, he's not going to set the world alight this season, although in a couple of years' time, he might be he might be prohibitively expensive if Manchester United were looking to sign him. So should United start signing players that maybe we don't feel are completely ready, because if you wait until they are ready to jump into your first team, it is too expensive. And this for me is, it's almost a bit like there's an incentive now for clubs like Manchester United to buy a player that we don't feel is really ready for the first team and then loan them out just to stockpile them, because if we leave them at clubs that are mid-table, lower Premier League clubs, by the time they are good enough, they're just going to cost too much money. So there's a few things happening in the transfer window now, which makes me concerned that some of these players now, the money's ridiculous. One of the things that I think is also worth noting, that I don't think there's anything to celebrate regarding massive transfer fees and huge player salaries, because we know where the money's going to come from. It's going to come from TV deals. It's going to come from fans paying for replica kits, stadium entrance as well. We're seeing this crazy situation where season tickets at Arsenal can cost up to 6k. This is ridiculous. Kits, replica kits, they're being marketed. Okay, I know people can buy them from different sources, but they're costing like 70, 80, 90 pounds. If you get like authentic ones, they're like 100 quid, maybe more. So this is actually getting a bit ridiculous, isn't it? And the reason for this has got to be people like Elliot Anderson, not blaming him specifically, but if you get a 300k salary, people in their early 20s, the money's coming from somewhere. It's getting a bit ridiculous. But as a final point, what's Manchester United's next move? Like Eddie Anderson cost 130 million pounds. Are we now looking at Matheus Fernandes costing 85 million and actually being that sort of price? Should Manchester United move for him? Should Man United look at Brady, try and get a better deal than the Matheus Fernandes deal? Should we look at Alex Scott, although he might start costing a bit more as well? And should we maybe look at Sangare, who potentially, maybe like 50 million, might represent one of the better deals? Or João Gomez, Hayden Hackney? Are we gradually dropping down our list to, say, D, E, and F options because A, B, C just cost way too much money? Does this actually alter your opinion on Man United's transfer window as well? That I was quite optimistic, although there's still a long way to go. There's still no guarantee Man United are walking away from all the deals I've just mentioned. But are you starting to feel that Man United, if we adhere to this wage structure and we adhere to this strategy of, it seems that we don't want to spend more than £70 million per player, is this almost like outdated? It feels a bit like the transfer market's moved quicker than Manchester United's decision makers, and what used to cost £70 million would get you maybe a really good player that can come into your first team. Maybe that price is now 90 to 100. That maybe what we thought was going to be the Embuemo, the Cunha, the Benjamin Sesko price, maybe those players are all now 100 million. It sounds ridiculous, but when the rules in football change, and now the rules regarding how much you can spend, the rules regarding how clubs are assessed for participation in the Champions League, with this wage cost ratio about how much you spend on salaries, what's your turnover, loads of clubs are going crazy in the market, and it seems that Man United need to adapt quickly or we're just going to fall behind. It's as simple as that. We need to move quickly or we're going to fall behind. And it looks at the moment like we're falling behind, which makes me concerned. I'm not saying it's time to panic yet, because I never advocate panicking, but it's starting to look like the transfer market is moving, and Man United has sat there with the sort of 2025, 2026 budget thinking this is what things should cost, and it's not realistic anymore. Things are moving quicker than Man United, unfortunately, and they need to adapt, and they need to accept that if Man United want to get some proper deals done in the next sort of couple of months, you need to forget about what your wage structure is, because that is not realistic anymore. You need to forget about how much you think players should cost, because they cost more. And if you can't afford the players that are required to win the Premier League, maybe you should consider selling the club to someone that will spend the money required. But thanks for watching. I'm doing a few short videos because it's ridiculously hot and I can't sit in the room talking about football for an hour straight. But if you've got any thoughts and questions, comments, anything you want to see in any video format at all, TikTok, YouTube, just let me know. Thank you for watching, and we'll catch you in the next one.